Hi, everyone. Thanks for stopping by the My Reader Moment. If you're new here, welcome. To all of my new subscribers, thank you for joining me on my journey. This is the backup channel to the My Reader Minutes. You can check me out over there too. I have a lot of content as well on different topics. Today, I want to talk about David Anthony Burke. You ask, who is that? Well, he is or was a very talented, lucrative streamer. Okay. And he made his small fortune by creating his own music during his streams. Instead of getting copyright strikes, he came up with the idea to come up with his own music so that he wouldn't. Anyway, by doing that, he gained a big following, a very big following. And I'm not sure of his genre. I've not heard any of his music, okay? However, the way they describe his genre, he's a little gory. I mean, to the point where he was selling fake bloody hand t-shirts as merch on his website. One of his songs was Romantic Homicide. Yeah. So, I mean, that was his genre. That's what his judge was. And again, that wouldn't have attracted me, so therefore I knew nothing about him. Back in September of 2025, his car, he evidently has a black Tesla that was registered to him. It must have been abandoned up the street from his house, and someone called it in and had it towed. Well, when they towed it to the impound lot, evidently there was this stench that was coming from it, and they called the police. Well, lo and behold, once they identified the body, they found that it was Celeste Rivas Hernandez. And the state of her body was horrendous. She had I don't know how long she had been in there. I'm assuming they're estimating that she may have been in the trunk for about 4 months, give or take. Her body has started to decompose. Now, this is out in California, so the weather's kind of warm. So in warm conditions, it wasn't like it was wintertime or anything like that. Your body would probably decompose at a faster rate as if it was, in cooler conditions. We're also finding out that the body was dismembered. Her legs and her arms were dismembered. Now, if you know the size of the Tesla trunks, he would have had to have dismembered her because the trunk in the front, which I think that's where she was stored, is not that big. I've seen one. I don't have a Tesla myself, but my friend of mine has one. And if it's anything like hers, I don't even know what could go in there for real. But if cut up in the right, and I don't know how big Celeste was, I'm sure if she was cut up, she could fit right nicely in there. But anyway, she was put in 2 different bags. Her body was in 2 oh my God, her body was in 2 different bags. Anyway. And then they said that part of her skull was, part of her head was like almost like a skeleton, like the skin probably had started to come off of it. She was missing an eye. So I don't know, maybe she was in there longer than, she must have been, let me see, May, June, July, August, September. It had to be like 5 months when they found her. And then they're also saying that 2 of her fingers were missing, like had been chopped off. There are streams of her and him that had surfaced around the time when her body was found. People were trying to put their own story together. The LAPD was being kind of hush-hush about all the details because it involved a child. So people were just going rogue with their own stories of what was what. Because at first they said she was dismembered. Then they came back and said she wasn't dismembered because they were trying to put hush-hush on the case. They didn't want too much information out there. So people didn't know what the actual evidence was. Well, his preliminary hearing, or the beginning of his preliminary hearing, was as on Monday, I want to say, or Thursday. It was this past week. I don't know what day it was. And some of the things have come out. The autopsy report, and things of that nature. So come to find out, she may have had a little bit of alcohol in her system. There was a report that I read that says she might have had methamphetamine or something in her system, or some type of volume or a Xanax in her system, and MDMA may have been in her system. I think that's like ecstasy or something. They were saying that may have been found in her system in the toxicology report, but allegedly, I don't know for sure. Some reports said that was inconclusive. Other reports saying there were signs of it. So still can't really tell you what's what. I was under the impression that they would have locked this kid up a long time ago. I myself remembered them not trying to declare this case as a homicide in the beginning. And I will never forget in my video, I was like, how in the world, based on a little bit of stuff that we knew, how in the world could you not deem it as a homicide? Not saying that they could say that he did it or that he was associated with it, but it's hard to remove him from being the one that did it because it's his car. It's registered to him. Then they were throwing out details like, oh, well, he has an entourage. Anybody could have been driving the car. Supposedly he wasn't around. He was out of town when they actually found the girl in the back of the trunk. Somebody on his street happened to be moving the car back and forth. But my whole thing is, didn't they smell her in the back of that car? Or maybe her body was somewhere else, and whoever called to get it impounded or towed had put the body in there prior to them towing it. I mean, I'm just thinking, because it doesn't make any sense. Why would you leave the body in the car and you're just moving the car from side to side? I feel like the body wasn't in there then. I feel like whoever called in, there's a car on the side of the street, I don't want it there. Can somebody call? And then once they put the body in there and they knew it was going to be towed away, and then they thought they were going to be done with it, but they didn't. Did he not think that it would come back to him? It was the car is registered in his name. Anyway, so when they came back and said they weren't trying to deem it as a homicide, I was like, how in the world did they come to that? If she was dismembered, because at the time I was reading she had been dismembered, I said, did she do that to herself and put in and then get in the trunk herself? I mean, I don't understand that. Even if the person that put in the trunk didn't actually do the unaliving, they are an accomplice. Somebody needs to go down for it. Then when they talked about the state of which her body was found, dismembered, skin coming off of her face where it's almost like Skeletor-like looking because of the decomposing of the skin, a missing eye, 2 fingers chopped off, puncture wounds, one in the chest, one in the torso or in the rib area. I pray that she didn't feel any of that. I pray that she was out of it. Whatever she had in her system, maybe she was just out of it. Whoever did this to her, and I'm not going to say it's David because I don't know, wasn't there. Okay. But all eyes are looking at him. He had to be in a real dark place to even do that to that little girl. A real dark place. And he must have been high on something. And now they're saying the motive was that she was going to reveal their relationship, which would have ruined his career. So did he not think that this wouldn't have ruined it? You know what I mean? Doesn't make any sense. But he's 21. At the time he was 20, 19 or 20. Both of them young. I do not condone the fact that he was dealing with someone that was 13, 14 years old. When I read the report and they said she was in 7th grade, I'm thinking, 7th grade? You're barely out of elementary school. Barely. You're in middle school. And middle school students are little. They're still babies. If he was doing anything with her and trying to make it seem like they were in this relationship, then the only child corn he would even need to have on his phone was with Celeste. That's a crime. That would be considered child corn. They don't need much. Even if they don't convict him of actually unaliving her. They can get him for the child P. They can get him for that. And he should be. Because what would in his right mind think that it was okay to deal with a 14-year-old? Granted, mentally, they were probably on the same level. 14, a 7th grader? Really? She probably just started menstruating, if that. He came into the courtroom and he came in with, I guess, his orange jumpsuit, and he had this stoic look on his face. I saw the pictures, and he just like didn't flinch, nothing faced him unless either that or he's just put up this wall because he knows he's getting ready to go through it. Now, mind you, he was getting ready to go on tour before they found her decomposed body in his Tesla. I don't know who made that plan, but whoever put the body in the trunk is a dumbass. Now, unless he can prove that maybe it was just registered him, but somebody else was driving it and they potentially could have done whatever to Celeste. I mean, he had to come out with some real receipts. We would need to see that. But right now, my eyes are looking at him. I have no proof. I don't know him from a can of paint. I don't know anything about him. All I can go is what has been reported, and I'm looking at him. Now, I don't know what the courts are going to do, but I'm looking at him all day. I was looking at him back in September because I was irritated the fact that the LAPD wasn't calling or deeming this a homicide. That's sad. I feel for the parents. I'm not saying that. I'm not faulting Celeste. She was a kid caught up in the fast life, because when you feel like you are dealing with someone older, they're introducing you to maybe some illegal substances, alcohol, partying. Maybe that's what she was into, or at least she thought she was into because she was grown, because she got herself a 20-year-old and she's 14. Whatever comes along with that mentality, you know? She's a kid. I know his next preliminary, they rescheduled the preliminary hearing to May 1st, so we'll have probably more information then. But let me read you what the autopsy says. I gave you a little bit, but let me just read this. So the autopsy sheds light on the cause of death. It says, ahead of the charges against Burke, details of how Celeste died and who was under investigation remain hidden as authorities convened a grand jury and shielded investigation findings from the public. But an autopsy report, which has previously been sealed by a judge, was finally released Wednesday. It revealed Celeste died from multiple penetrating injuries. The girl's dismembered body was found in September in the front trunk of David's Tesla, which had been towed from the Hollywood Hills to a police impound lot. Celeste's remains were in a zippered body bag, and she had 2 wounds that may represent sharp force injuries, one to her chest and the other to her abdomen, according to LAPD according to Los Angeles County Medical Examiner's Office. Additional skin abrasions are noted, though the medical examiners could not determine the causes because of the severe decomposition of the body. Her arms and legs have been dismembered, and multiple blue plastic fragments were embedded in the cut surfaces and submitted into evidence. 2 fingers had also been removed from her left hand. Board-certified forensic pathologists who reviewed the report that was made public and is not involved with the case said the injuries described were most consistent with stabbing, and the girl was likely dismembered after she died. Yeah, because they had to fit her in the trunk of the Tesla. Not that big. This is a very difficult case because of the decomposition. It looks like likely a knife made the wounds, but I can see why they used the wording they did, given the condition of the body. A tattoo reading "sh" was documented on the inside of her right index finger, according to the examiner's report, similar to the tattoo David has on his finger. Alcohol was also detected in her system, though the medical examiner notes it's unclear whether it's present because of ingestion or decomposition. So that's crazy, right? He needs to pay. Justice needs to be served. Nobody deserves to die like that. I feel sorry for her family. I feel sorry for Celeste. I feel like David, if found guilty and if he is the one that actually did this and carried this out, he deserves everything that they throw at him. Because that is disgusting. I understand his image is being gory and all this kind of stuff, but this is ridiculous. And then you're just going to stuff it in your trunk and get the car impounded. So what was he going to do with it if it never got impounded? Like, what was he going to leave it in the trunk? He didn't have the sense enough to bury her. Let's get down in the comments and talk about it. This is gross.